And now, a word on Mexican food. No, not Mexican food. The topic of tonight is self-discipline. However, self-discipline in my case as it relates to Mexican food tonight. We just got back from this Mexican food restaurant in Southern California. Now, I live in SoCal, for those that don't know, but I'm originally from Texas, and I lived the first 23 years of my life in the great Republic of Texas. And I got to tell you, I have spent the last 17 years of my life looking for Mexican food that can equate to anything I used to eat in Texas, because the Mexican food in Texas is very different than it is from, let's say, in Southern California. Now, some folks say, well, that's because it's Tex-Mex or whatever. I don't know. I'm sure there's a name for it. That's not really the point. The point is that the food in Texas, the kind of Mexican food they serve, is the kind that I like, right? Well, I found a restaurant here in Southern California that makes a steak ranchero, and I gotta tell you something, man. This thing, it is heaven on a heated plate. It's so phenomenal. Chopped carne asada steak with the ranchero sauce and the refried beans and the rice, and the sauce kind of just is like poured all over the whole plate, and it soaks up into the rice. And then with the flour the big, like flimsy, real thin flour tortillas with the queso fundido for an appetizer. Like, so I must have eaten about 4,000 calories worth of Mexican food, and now I'm sitting here going like, okay, so why am I telling you all this? Because as much as I love Mexican food, if I ate like that every day, I'd have to do the daily dose outside my office because I wouldn't fit in here. Does that make sense? See, I can do Mexican food. I just can't do it every day. And maybe you like to, have a beer. But you can't have 9 every day. And maybe you like to just sit and watch TV. But you can't do it for 6 hours every day. That's what self-discipline means on a very surface level. See, I think sometimes we try to, overcomplicate things. Like self-discipline is the ability to deny oneself. Self-discipline means engaging in goal-achieving activities as opposed to tension-relieving activities more often than not. That's what self-discipline means. Self-discipline means if something is not necessarily good for you, or it's not promoting you towards your goals, or it's not moving you in the direction that you want to go in your life, you've got to evaluate all of your actions. You've got to ask yourself, is this helping me or hurting me on the way to where I'm trying to get to? Now, in my case, I'm trying to get down to 190 pounds, lean and strong, my college fighting weight, right? I can tell you right now that Mexican food does not help. Okay? So when I sat down to eat that Mexican food and I asked me, is this helping or hurting? The answer was, it's hurting. Guess what? I ate it anyway, okay? So I'm not saying that you can never engage in anything that doesn't move you towards your goals. But what I'm saying is, if you get in the habit of evaluating all of your actions and everything that you do throughout the course of a day, if your weight loss is your goal, you're evaluating everything you eat. If spirituality is your goal, you're evaluating your thoughts, your beliefs, and your actions. If a relationship is your goal, you're evaluating how you react and respond to your partner, whatever the case might be. If you're evaluating all of your actions and thoughts and ideas throughout the day, then here's what you can say. Is this helping me or hurting me? And the idea is to do more of what is helping you more often and less of what is hurting you less often. And that, in a nutshell, is self-discipline. Because you see, we've all known people, haven't we, that will tell you like, I'm trying to make more money, and I just, I work so hard, and I just don't see why it's not coming to fruition. I just don't understand why it's not happening. But if you look at their lifestyle, you can say, well, you know what, man, you showed up late to work this morning. When you got off at 3 o'clock, you went home, you sat on the couch, you didn't do anything else until you watched football, and then, by the way, you drank a 6-pack of beer, which is probably not so good for your health, but it's probably also not so good for your checkbook. And then you went to bed and you got up again and you did it the next day. And where in that whole line of activity existed anything that's going to move you any closer to financial independence than what you've been doing for the last 10 years? And they go, oh, right? Because we as human beings get into rhythms. And we fall into habits. And habits are like a warm bed, man. They're easy to get into. And they're difficult to get out of. And we fall into habits. Sometimes people think of habits, they think of like chewing your nails or picking your nose, right? Yes, those are habits, but not the kind that I'm talking about. I'm talking about just grooves that we wear in our lives. And that's what makes change so incredibly difficult. That's what makes self-discipline difficult. See, I'm not telling you anything that you don't already know. Don't we already know that if we want to be lean, we've got to eat fewer calories than we burn? And don't we already know that if we want to have a great relationship, we've got to treat our partners with love and respect and honesty and courtesy? And don't we already know if we want to have a great spiritual life that we've got to spend time in prayer or meditation or whatever means by which you communicate with your Creator, your God? Don't we already know that if we want to be more successful, we need to work in prime time, baby, while the rest of the world is watching Breaking Bad, we're making money? Don't we already know if we want to be more successful in our job, we should show up early, stay late, and work harder than anybody else? Don't we already know if we want to be successful in a sport, we should practice, drill, and rehearse? Don't we all know these things on a surface level? Of course we do. Of course we do. Self-discipline is doing what you know. And that's the dose.